Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Dan Moonshine, the Hillbill Hellraiser. How you doing? So I was watching some videos and I see a notification pop up on my phone that there's a new video premiering from Analog Archives, Dennis, and he's doing a response video. It's a challenge, but not really a challenge. More, I guess, maybe even like a thought exercise or something or other. But basically, it's to pick out the first albums from the first 10 bands you listen to. It started with George G. George G's Room of Rock is the channel. If you're not familiar, go check it out. He's all I see him on all sorts of little different circles and people who I follow and whose channels I follow. And then Dennis too with Analog Archives. Go check his out because it's pretty cool as well. So I figured I would go into this. Pretty much everything, 9 out of 10 are all cassettes because when I first started collecting music, it was all on cassette. I didn't really get into CDs for a few years. And then I have one vinyl that I've had for ages, and I figured I would show that one off as well. Yeah, but really, a lot of the stuff that started my journey into getting into music, it was a lot of times it was just through my cousin's record collection. He was into all like old school hard rock and heavy metal, like Van Halen, Scorpions, Iron Maiden, AC/DC, all that sort of stuff. Sabbath, of course. So I would steal his records and then I would dub copies of them. I would put together little cassette recordings of them, and that would be my initial like first collection. But I'm not going to show you a bunch of old cassettes because that's no fun. There's nothing sexy about that. So anyhow, so let's get into this. So probably the first one, and I did kind of laugh because a couple of these I saw and it was like, oh wow, I can't believe somebody else is going to show that one. So the first one is it's going to be for those about to rock AC/DC. This record has been in my family for decades. I just took it because it was sitting in my parents' house and it's just sitting there and nobody's going to have any use for it. So there was a bunch of records I took out of there that nobody really cares about. You know, my dad didn't really give a crap about any of that stuff. None of it's his, so he's not going to be too concerned with it disappearing or not. So I took a bunch of stuff and that was one of the things, and surprisingly still plays fairly well. I mean, very cool album. Uh, I haven't listened to it in a long time. I listened to it probably about like a year or so ago, maybe even closer to 2 years. But of course, for those about to rock, just a classic. Evil Walks is great. Trying to think some of the other songs on there that I really like. Honestly, off the top of my head, that's how long it's been since I've listened to this. I couldn't really tell you many of the other songs on there, but yeah, that's probably one of the first. That's one of the legit first things that I guess you could say I own because it's been in my family. Probably something more of my eldest sister's, but nonetheless. So then, one of the first things I got on cassette, I believe that this was a Christmas or a birthday gift. I'm not quite sure which. Quite a few of these are going to be either Christmas gifts or birthday gifts or stuff like that. Because, you know, when I was started collecting music, I was a kid. I didn't have any money. So, and I wasn't about to go steal shit. So it was basically reliant upon family members to be generous during the holidays or during birthdays or whatnot. So this one I laughed because I saw George G bring this up, but it's Aerosmith's greatest hits. I got this, and yeah, this is a really cool one. It's got some really good stuff on here. Draw the Line, Back in the Saddle. Kings and Queens is one of my favorite Aerosmith songs of all time. You know, just a tremendous song. Really kind of very moody, very melancholic, and it's kind of dark for when you think of like an Aerosmith and you think of some of the stuff that they've done over the years. It's actually it's kind of has a cool little melody to it, and it's really it's a little bit on the darker side if you think about it. But yeah, that was one of the first ones I ever had. A funny story about that is that I used to listen to when I was a kid. I was into like old school '80s rap and hip hop, so I heard Run DMC's cover of "Walk This Way" before I ever heard Aerosmith's. And I used to fight with my oldest sister about it being, that's a Run DMC song. She's like, no, it's not stupid. That's Aerosmith. And her boyfriends would have to correct me as well. So I was like, oh, okay, that shows you what I know. But again, I was a kid. I'm still kind of a dumbass today, but regardless. So next up, this one I believe was also it was a gift, but one of the first things I owned was Def Leppard Hysteria. This is good. I still it's not the greatest Def Leppard that's out there, but I would say probably Animal's really good. Armageddon. This is when they started getting a little too poppy. Yeah, because it's got a couple like Hysteria that's played out. Woman is played out. Animal's all right. Love Bites. Pour Some Sugar on Me. I mean, it's all the hits. Rocket's a really cool song. I actually like that because I used to watch WCW Saturday Night, and on the WCW Saturday Night programming, they used to do like these promo packages for Flying Brian Pillman, and that was a song they used for him, and it always stuck in my head, and I always thought it was really cool. It worked really well with his gimmick, and he was a high flyer back in the day, and he was one of those guys who they really he had like a large upside to him, and then he got into a massive car accident, totally shattered his leg, his ankle. He had to get that reconstructed, and he was never quite the same. He ended up reinventing himself, kind of did this whole like loose cannon gimmick, and then eventually he died of OD'd, drug overdose, took too many pills, and which happens in that era, back in the Attitude Era wrestling, happened a lot. But he was a tremendous talent. But I always remember that song because of the video packages that WCW used to do on him back in the day when he was a young, up and coming white meat babyface, keeps on kicking out, hot to trot. The girls will love him and all that sort of. But he was an interesting character. But anyhow, so that was another one. This one, I'm pretty sure this might have been one of the first ones that I bought with my own money. I got this in '89. This was Injustice for All by Metallica. I mean, just tremendous. I don't think I really have to go into, of course, one, Blackened, Harvester of Sorrow, uh, Shortest Straw. Yeah, what else can I think of on here that really yeah, I mean the whole thing is great, but yeah, Afraid of Sanity. That's a good. I mean the whole album's killer, but I always remember I was sitting in sixth grade music class, and the teacher decided to show us the Grammys from that year, and he played everything. He played every single solitary performance on that was on the show except for Metallica. It was such a letdown. It was so lame. But I did see it when they did it live, and it was very cool, very impactful, really impressionable for me as a youth. And yeah, got the album and played the hell out of it. It actually kind of has this little thumping thing because I don't know, something to do with the magnetism, and was playing it on somebody's player and something happened with it. I don't know what that. So it's got a weird kind of sound to it. So I should probably eventually get a CD or a record or something or other. But that is the only copy that I have of that. And then a couple of these. I got this one, Queensrÿche Empire, in 1990 when it first came out. The fun story with that is that my dad won the lottery, and it wasn't a large. It wasn't like he was like independently wealthy now, had FU money or what have you. But he had a little bit of cash to throw around, so he gathered all the kids together, and he gave my mom a bunch of money, and told her, okay, the kid, we go to the mall, and he's like, all right, you guys can have like $10, $15. Go buy whatever you want. So I went to the local record store and they used to have the little glass display case there and they'd have all the tapes behind it because that was kind of like that was like the high ticket thing back then. But which is funny because there was records all over the place. And I used to laugh because I would go, I forget what the name of the store was, but I would always go to it. And one of those things that I would always see there was a copy of Black Death, that album. And it always like kind of stood out like a turd in a punch bowl to me. And of course, as a kid, I didn't have any money, so I couldn't buy it. And I wasn't about to try to steal it because, first of all, I don't know, steal anything. And then, secondly, I was like 45 minutes away from my hometown. So it's not like, what was I going to do? I was going to steal and run like 7 hours home trying to evade whoever. But anyhow, I used to laugh at that because I would see it all the time. And looking back, had I known like, because the album's not bad, it's not great. It's okay, but I think a lot of people are they overrate it a little bit. But it would be kind of funny if I'd have bought it back then because of how many people wet their pants about it nowadays. And it would have been kind of cool to have something like that and be like, oh yeah, I got that. It's bought it when I was a kid. But instead, I bought the Queensrÿche Empire. To me, that's one of the best albums of that year, in my opinion. It's got so many great songs on here. I mean, the title track is fantastic. Best I Can, Thin Line. I mean, Jet City Woman, that was one of the big hits. That's great. I really think, honestly, other than probably Silent Lucidity and Delta Brown, I think most of the album is just it's killer. I mean, it's pretty much it's one of the best things that they've done, and yeah, I really enjoyed it, and it was cool. So it was kind of cool, but cool little story with that one. And then also this one, and my buddy Trevor, his butthole is inexplicably puckering right now, but I got this for a Christmas gift. It's one of the first things I had. I don't have a lot of Kiss stuff, but this is one I do have. Forgive me, but Hot in the Shade by Kiss. I think I've shown this once or twice, but it's very sappy. It's of the time, but it's the first Kiss thing that I ever owned, and that was the big album. That was the album that came out when I started really getting into music and really starting to listen to like hard rock and heavy metal. And I've mentioned it before. Probably the first stuff I got into was the glam metal stuff and the hairband stuff. And I'll follow that up with this one. This was another one of my first things that I got. Slave to the Grind by Skid Row. This has the Get the F Out on it. I used to play that all the time, like a little edgy boy weirdo. But that album is really good. Of course, Monkey Business, Slave to the Grind, The Threat, Quicksand Jesus is great. Living on a Chain Gang is great. In a Darkened Room, Mud Kicker, Wasted Time. This, again, one of the better albums of that year. And I do stand by that. I think that probably those first two Skid Rows are great, but Slave to the Grind, that's probably the best thing they ever did. I would say they never matched that at all. And of course, Bach leaving, getting kicked out of the band, and them just having their decades long pissing contest doesn't help. But yeah, man, so that was another one that I got. And then a couple more that I'll mention here. Another one I got this Christmas gift from one of my uncles, and this is Persistence of Time by Anthrax. Another fantastic album. Time, Blood, Keep It in the Family. Keep It in the Family is such a great song. Just that killer. But anyhow, you all know the song, I'm sure. Those of you who are Anthrax fans. By the way, I enjoyed the new Anthrax, the single that they put out not too long ago. Not that anyone was asking, but I'm letting you know. Uh, yeah, Belly of the Beast. Even the cover of the Joe Jackson song, Got the Time. That's a good one. In My World is great. Yeah, One Man Stand. The whole like another one. Just a phenomenal album, and that was one of those ones that I really that year I sought out as far as like when my parents were like, okay, it's Christmas time, put your list together. And that was one of the ones that I really wanted at the time and still own it. I pretty sure I own it on CD as well. But yeah, man, that's another one of my favorites. But one of the first ones, Anthrax is one of those first thrash bands that I really got into. I probably got into them and Megadeth more as far as the big four go. I got into them early on a little bit more than say Slayer or Metallica. I did want to, and I'll get into this in a second. I'll finish this up here. I did want to add a Slayer one, but I'll get into that. And then probably a couple more. These are two that I did buy with my own money. I didn't buy them when they first came out, but there were a couple of those things that I bought at the record store. And the first one is Kings of Metal by Manowar. This fantastic album. I love Heart of Steel. That's one of my favorite Manowar songs. Uh, really enjoy the hell out of it. Hail and Kill is great. You know, Kings of Metal. Other bands play. Manowar kills. What else can be said? And then this one, Danzig, the self-titled, the first one that they put out, just a phenomenal album. Another one, like those first three Danzigs are top tier all around. I mean, I can't say anything that probably hasn't been said 1,000 times about them. I know they put those new reissues out on record, and I may get those in the future. But yeah, I actually this one this doesn't play anymore. It's just more ornamentation because I wore the hell out of it. But yeah, those would be my 10 as far as like stuff that were the first bands that I got into. There was a bunch of things I could say. Technically, if you wanted to ask me about the very first thing I ever owned, if anyone wanted any Dan Moonshine McCoy trivia, then it would probably be well, not probably. It'd be Michael Jackson's Thriller. I had that on cassette when I was a wee little lad and don't know what happened to that. I mean, I'm sure it got lost to time, but you know, as with a lot of things, there were a couple of albums, cassettes, things like that that I wanted to show, but I wouldn't have been, I wasn't able to. One I wanted to show was Ozzy Osbourne, No More Tears. That was another one that was one of the first ones I bought with my own money. But I don't have it because I loaned it to somebody at school one day and he never returned it to me. So I lost that one. I do have a dubbed copy of it, but that's really not as, again, that's not as fun or as sexy as seeing the actual physical copy of it. I wanted to show off the Slayer Double Live Aggression, Decade of Aggression, but uh, not to get too deep into the story, but I had a bunch of cool stuff on tape and it got destroyed in a fire. I won't get into that story, but that is the long and short of it. Is it got destroyed in a fire and there was tons of stuff that I lost to that and I kind of now I wish I still had them, but I don't. Lots of cool death metal stuff and old sludge stuff, and then there's other things that I'm trying to go through, and I'm looking through my collection, and I'm where the hell did this? Where did this go? I had this. I had this. I had a Faith No More, the real thing on cassette. Don't know where the hell that went. I was even looking for my cassette copy of Blind by COC. Can't find that. And then I'm looking further, and I had a copy of Crowbar, the self-titled. Can't find that, you know. So as I was doing this, I was actually kind of getting a little annoyed because I was starting to realize there's a bunch of my stuff, a bunch of my collection that seems to have just vanished. And like I say, some of it got destroyed, but others like the Danzig one just don't play anymore. But then there's others. I don't know where the hell they've gone. I honestly don't know. I don't know if somebody because for most of my life, I've been an apartment dweller, so I don't know if maybe some maintenance people were coming and stealing my crap or whatever the case is. But I know at one point I was living with a buddy of mine, and I used to use the garage as a gym, and I used to keep all my cassettes out there. So who the hell knows? Some scumbag may have just walked by and said, "Oh, check that out, yoink," and or whatever. But point being is that a lot of stuff that I would have shown is gone. And can't really show up. But those are legit, probably some of the earliest things that I ever bought and owned or were given as gifts that I listened to that kind of got me started down the path of listening to music that I listen to. And I do have a few like hip hop things, but that kind of came a little bit later when I was in my teens. And then some of the other stuff that I was going to mention, like some of the sludge and the doom stuff, that kind of came when I was in my teens and kind of getting, late teens, getting into college and stuff like that. So that was a little ways down the way. But these are the things that I had. So, thanks to George from George G's Room of Rock, very cool thing to put out there for people. Very cool to see Dennis's video on it. I did not see because he found it through Mendicant Media. I'm not a subscriber to the channel. I can't say I really watch any of the stuff. I'm familiar with the name, but I've never watched any of the stuff. I guess maybe I'll check it out. But yeah, man, if you see any of those people's videos, go check them out. They're pretty cool. I mean, Dennis has great taste. So does George. Not sure about the other fella, but I'm sure he does because they seem to like him, so he must have pretty good taste. But yeah, and if you want, go check their videos out. They suggest, leaving comments about your list or maybe doing a video. I think it's pretty cool. I like when people put this kind of stuff out. It kind of gets the brain case rattling around a little bit, and you kind of come up with some fun stuff to just sit there and talk crap about some music, about all stuff that we're passionate about. But anyhow, that's it. I've taken up enough of your time, probably too much of your time. But anyhow, I appreciate you nonetheless, and be on the lookout. I'm going to be doing a recap video of a show I went to, and then more stuff on the way. But yeah, man, so that's what I got for you. This is Dan. This has been Moonshine Talking. Hopefully you had a good time. Uh, as always, it's getting late, so I'll be quick here. Stay sick, stay heavy, stay brutal. Always tuck your chin up on impact. Don't forget to breathe. Keep head banging and iron slang, and everyone have a good one. Take it easy. I'm going to go relax. I just got off of work a little while ago, and it's time to just decompress, and then I'll go to sleep and do it all over again tomorrow. All right, everyone, take it easy. Later.